Hey everybody, it's your boy Joe, the Wealth Architect, and I want to talk about something that's been on my mind actually for some years. Just been kind of keeping it to myself, and it's the idea of reentry, right? Not in a broad sense, but specifically when it comes to money, right? When people think about reentry, it doesn't end with a job, right? So we want to be very clear about that. Most of the focus is on getting a job, and then you can get housing, and you can, take care of your life, and those things are important. But I want to talk about something much broader than just having a job. I want to talk about having an economic blueprint that is not based on just a job. And so the traditional sense of just having a job ultimately keeps people within the system, and it keeps people in poverty for the most part, all right? Because we're not talking high-end jobs, right? And even high-end jobs doesn't mean that you're going to have money working for you. You're still working for money. And so basically, reentry in a traditional sense is having a job, and it's reentering poverty with a new ID. I'm going to say that again. Reentry in a traditional sense is having a job and reentering society and reentering poverty with a new ID. What we talk about here is an economic blueprint, and that blueprint is the SSI method. The SSI method is a 3-part framework that I devised some years ago that is focused on having a spending plan, a savings plan, and an investing plan. And so let me just get past this dog here. And so it is not based on a job. It is not based on selling your time for money, but instead it is based on being the master of your money, and it is based on having money serve you, having money work for you. That is the name of the game, and I cannot emphasize that enough. And so if you want to know more about the SSI method, check the link below where you can get a free copy of Chapter 1 of the SSI method, the new SSI method book. And so you can begin to see the type of mindset and framework that you'll need to have to break free from the traditional reentry model of getting a job, right? We all know how difficult it is and how frustrating it is to go to employers or prospective employers to submit all those resumes and then only to be asked, have you been convicted of a felony, right? Nobody likes to be asked that question, and yet that is the question, that is the basis upon which many of us are judged, not on the person we've become, how far we've evolved, what we bring to the table, but what we've done 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, and it just sets us up for failure, for being discouraged, for relapsing, whether it's through drugs, whether it's through spending, whether it's through some other way. And so again, the emphasis here is on having an economic blueprint, and one that is intended to set you up for success, right? The traditional reentry model, I cannot emphasize this enough. While it's good that there are, reentry organizations across the country who help with employment, with housing, with substance use, all those things are good. But at the end of the day, they don't get you out of poverty. They don't get you out of poverty, right? So we go from one form of prison or incarceration to an economic prison, right? What we're talking about here is economic freedom. And that freedom is in the SSI method. That freedom is in having an economic blueprint. I cannot emphasize that enough. I practice what I preach. Sure, having a job is good or can be good as a starter when you come home, but you need to be thinking long term. Nobody's gonna take care of you when you're in your 60s and 70s, right? So you wanna be in a position where you have the funds, you have the resources to live the life that you want and that you deserve. And so, again, if you wanna know more about the SSI method and how you can begin to build your own economic blueprint, then check the link below for the new SSI method. And also, when it comes to spending, something I talked about recently, yesterday actually, is emotional spending, right? So many of us, we carry so much trauma, or a lot of trauma, from our carceral experience, but also from just life in general, pre-incarceration, post-incarceration. And so some of our spending, because we don't have a blueprint, it is based on our emotions. And so if you want to get out of that rut, the rat race of spending, the sinkhole of spending mindlessly, then check the link below for the 7-day retail detox challenge. 7-day retail detox challenge. And I deliberately call it detox because for many of us, spending is like a drug, right? It really is. Spending is like a drug, just like sugar is, just like, several other things in our lives are. They become addictive. And so the 7-day retail, I'm just watching to make sure I don't get hit by a bike, but the 7-day retail detox challenge is intended to help you begin to break free from this addiction, right? To break free from the dopamine rush that you get from spending mindlessly often, right? And so check out the link below and you can get the 7-day retail detox challenge. With that, I will say now is the time to really get control of your finances, to not be at the mercy of the government, right? And not to be at the mercy of reentry programs. We don't want to have our hands out. We want to have our hands up in victory. And the way to begin to do that is to think about your finances from a long-term perspective, not short-term, like I need a job now, I need to survive now. I get that, but that thinking will keep you in the rat race. It will keep you discouraged when prospective employers say, oh, I'm sorry, we're no longer hiring, or whatever excuse they may use to not hire you because they've looked at your or discovered that you have a felony conviction. And so, again, I can't emphasize this enough. I know I keep saying it, but you need to have an economic blueprint. It may sound really daunting, but it basically boils down to having a spending plan, a savings plan, and an investing plan. And over the next several days and weeks, I'll be breaking each of those down, and I'll explain the SSI method, the framework for building wealth for justice-impacted people. This is a movement. This is a movement, and I am dead serious about that. This is a movement. We have to change our narrative, the narrative we have about ourselves in general, and the social narrative about what it means to be justice impacted, what reentry looks like, right? Reentry is more than a job. That is my emphasis. It is more than a job. It is more than getting public assistance, right? Reentry for us should be about economic inclusion, economic empowerment, and passing on a legacy that we can be proud of when it comes to our own financial well-being, but also the financial well-being of our families. And our families depend on us for this, right? And again, like I said, it's great that, in some places, some states, New York in particular, people can earn degrees, right? They come out with associate's degrees, bachelor's degrees, even master's degrees. Many of my friends have master's degrees, and some even have PhDs, and that's all good. I went to school, right? So I'm 20 credits shy of getting my bachelor's degree. But for me, it is not about a degree per se, or about getting the degree to get a job. That I can tell you, it's not about that. It is the information, it is the accomplishment, but it's not about getting a job. And again, I have nothing against having a job, but the emphasis is that it is more than a job. For me, it is about economic freedom, and that is time freedom, location freedom, and monetary freedom. So that's what we should be thinking about. So with that said, again, if you want to know more about the SSI method, click the link below and I'll send you chapter 1 of the new SSI method book. And if you really struggle with spending, I urge you to click the link below on a 7-day retail detox challenge. We're going to get our money right, but first we got to get our heads right. With that, I say peace.